But this is a very special luncheon. With all the rhetoric that's going on in Washington and our local communities, as chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce this year, I want to personally thank each and every one of you in this room for the service that you provide, for the fact that you put your life in danger on a daily basis for our freedom. And without you and the work that you do in our communities and in our neighborhoods, an event like this would not be able to take place. So from personal note from me to you, thank you for what you do. We really appreciate it. So as I start the awards, when I call your name, if you can come on up and we'll come up the stairs here. What? Yeah, walk up. What? Oh, yeah, sorry. If we can have the folks from Walden Country Club come up, they are our awards sponsor. Thank you very much. So as I call your name, if you can come up, you'll get your award. Come up on stage and for a photo op, and then and as I'm reading the bio. All right. First of all, we have Firefighter of the Year. City of Houston, Kingwood Station 102B, firefighter paramedic Steve Scott. Accompanying firefighter paramedic Scott is Lieutenant Stephen Berkelbach. I hope I said that right. Firefighter paramedic Steve Scott has been with Kingwood Station 102B for many years. Mr. Scott has not lost his passion for the profession after all these years. Even after making the extra calls day in and day out, he is always the first one to offer station tours with children that visit the station. He has countless saves to his credit, including one cardiac arrest. Firefighter paramedic Scott is well respected and admired by his peers as an valued member of our station. Is Steve Scott here? Not here? Not here. Okay. All righty, boy, we're getting started off. Yeah, there you go. Starting off with a bang. Here we go. All right, the City of Humble Fire Department. They've chosen to recognize their entire department, and accepting the award for them is Fire Chief Gary Outlaw. And I know Gary's here. The City of Humble Fire Department exists to meet needs created by a variety of crisis situations that demand a quick, efficient, and professional emergency response. We strive to provide the highest quality service while maximizing the productivity of our staff and reducing costs whenever possible. We will do as much as we can within the limitations of our resources to protect the lives and property and limit the degree of human suffering when called to an emergency. It is through our prevention, education, and training efforts that we strive to prevent, prepare for, and otherwise limit the extent of any fire or emergency. This award is presented in recognition of the outstanding service of the Humble Fire Department. Next, we have the East Montgomery County Fire Department, SD7. Department recognition accepting the award for the East Montgomery County Fire Department, SD7, is Chief Jeff Taylor and Captain Lonnie Cantwell. Montgomery County ESD7 is proud to award the East Montgomery County Fire Department as its Firefighter of the Year. In February 2014, Montgomery County ESD7, New Caney Fire Department, and ESD11 Splendora Fire Department entered into an interlocal agreement whereas Montgomery County ESD7 would be providing direct oversight of day-to-day operations for the Montgomery County ESD11 Fire District. The interlocal agreement provided an opportunity for two emergency service districts, the feasibility and the benefits of permanent consolidation of the two fire districts. Most importantly was ensuring that the residents of each fire district would benefit from an increased level of service. In February 2015, the two emergency service districts called for the election for formal consolidation to become the new Montgomery County ESD-7 East Montgomery County Fire Department. On May 9, 2015, voters approved the formal consolidation. The East Montgomery County Fire Department, Montgomery County ESD-7, provides services to its 144 square mile fire district, responding to more than 5,500 emergency incidents annually. The fire district staffs 3 fire stations 24/7 and will be staffing a 4th fire station by June of 16. With the continued growth in East Montgomery County, the East Montgomery County Fire Department is currently planning the construction of its 5th fire station to be opened by late 2017. Next, from the Porter Fire Department, Lieutenant Jeff Taylor. He'll be accompanied by his father, Joe Taylor. Lieutenant Taylor was chosen as the Porter Fire Department Firefighter of the Year because of the great poise and decision-making ability during the extinguishment of numerous structure fires. Lieutenant Taylor was also involved with pulling a civilian out of a burning building. He has taken it upon himself to step up and train his personal daily to become good firefighters. Lieutenant Taylor portrays a professional environment for his personal, community, and Porter Fire Department. Congratulations. Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department. Department recognition accepting the award for the department is Assistant Chief Sean Connolly and Chief Sean Richardson. Utilizing state-of-the-art dispatch equipment and well-maintained late model apparatus, the Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department has response times which are some of the best in the Houston, Texas area. Our firefighters undergo continuing rigorous training in order to be up to the minute on the latest firefighting, rescue, and life-saving techniques. The Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department is very active in our area in the area of fire prevention, making regular appearances at local functions and area schools. The Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department participates in classroom activities by educating students as to how our department functions and what we as firefighters encounter in fire situations. We also instruct students in planning escape routes in case of fire and how to call upon us in emergency situations. Each year, the Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department offers a fire training academy which teaches recruit or probationary firefighters the basic skills of firefighting. After graduation from the academy, they then offer continued skills education on an ongoing basis regularly throughout the year. Our firefighters are some of the best trained and most highly motivated in the area, and we are proud to offer our academy classes to other departments in the area as well. We are proud to have in our department instructors that teach firefighter skills in a variety of places such as the City of Houston Fire Department, Texas A&M University, Cy-Fair Academy, Harris County Fire and Emergency Services Training Center, and various other places. This award is presented in recognition of the outstanding services of the Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department. Now we'll move on to our Peace Officers of the Year. The City of Houston Police Department Senior Police Officer Billy G. Willoughby. Accompanying Senior Officer Willoughby is Captain Mark Fucheris and Houston Police Chief Martha Montalvo. At the end of his shift last August, Officer Billy Willoughby was flagged down as he observed a suspect vehicle that was stolen in an aggravated robbery. He informed the dispatcher, called for backup, and perused the fleeing vehicle. The 30-year veteran caught up to the suspects in a nearby neighborhood shortly after the armed occupants had abandoned the stolen vehicle and ran on foot. Officer Willoughby began searching the area and took a suspect into custody that was walking by a fence line. Officer Willoughby put out a general broadcast of the other suspects' descriptions. The dispatcher notified additional city and county units to assist Officer Willoughby. Kingwood officers and Harris County units arrived and continued to look for additional suspects. 2 additional males were detained for this investigation, and multiple pieces of evidence were collected at the scene for follow-up on this aggravated robbery case. Officer Willoughby's actions took a violent suspect off the streets of Houston. Thank you. Harris County Constable Precinct 4. All right, I know how to pronounce this name. D'Ambrosio? Abraccio? D'Ambrosio. Yeah, they went over it several times with me earlier, and I still screwed it up. All right, so we have Deputy J. D'Ambrosio. Accompanying Deputy D'Ambrosio is Constable Mark Herman. Oh, Wally Wiggett. All right. Last August, the unincorporated business areas of Humble and Spring experienced an abnormal amount of armed robberies, which involved suspects violently targeting dollar-type stores and fast food establishments. Deputy D'Ambrosio, who was aware of the area robbery, scanned his surroundings, including a Jack in the Box restaurant, which was located down the street, where he noticed an unoccupied white Jaguar with its lights on, parked next to the restaurant's entrance. Deputy D'Ambrosio was also able to see what appeared to be a male suspect wearing a hat, a bandana over his face, and yellow gloves running from the restaurant to the parked car. Recognizing what he believed to be a robbery in progress, he immediately took action by following the Jaguar, which sped off. During this 3-mile-long pursuit, the suspect crashed into 2 other vehicles while attempting to get away. He continued his pursuit while remaining calm and transmitting pertinent information to surrounding units. Deputy D'Ambrosio was able to take custody of the suspect, who attempted to flee on foot after he lost control of the vehicle, causing it to roll several times. A loaded gun used in the robbery was found inside the vehicle, along with the $473 which had been stolen from the restaurant. The suspect was arrested and charged with felony, aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon, and 2 counts of failure to stop and render aid. It was also discovered that the suspect was out on bond for a robbery he had committed 2 months prior. Consequently, the robberies in the area stopped after the arrest of the suspect. Deputy D'Ambrosio's actions are a clear indication of his care for the community, professionalism, and bravery in acting without hesitation to stop the criminal element and protect the citizens of Precinct 4. Harris County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Jimmy Rollins. Accompanying Lieutenant Rollins is Lieutenant William Gray. Lieutenant Jimmy Rollins' commitment to duty over the course of more than 20 years characterizes the true meaning of law enforcement professionalism. He has dedicated thousands of service hours, working 4 to 5 days a week to help supplement staffing needs. He has consistently displayed good character and integrity. Lieutenant Rollins is currently assigned to the Aldine-Humble area in Harris County Patrol District 2. Recently, Lieutenant Rollins was involved in the capture of 3 suspects wanted in a string of robberies in December of 2015. Lieutenant Rollins was familiar with the robberies and had been advised that the suspects he was pursuing were from the Acres Homes area. With this information, he and another deputy staged their patrol units beneath the Gulf Bank overpass and watched traffic for the suspect vehicle. Once the suspect vehicle passed his location, Lieutenant Rollins followed the vehicle at a safe distance until a felony traffic stop was attempted. The suspect driver failed to stop and a short pursuit ensued. The suspects fled on foot to a nearby apartment complex where Lieutenant Rollins gave chase, and within minutes, 3 suspects were in custody. Lieutenant Rollins' attention to detail and decisive actions resulted in the capture of these 3 suspects and the clearance of several other aggravated robberies. The Humble ISD Police gets department recognition. Accepting the award on behalf of the department is Chief Solomon Cook. Actually, I believe we have, is it Lieutenant now? Yes. Bobby Brown. Yes. All right, the Humble ISD Police Department's mission is protecting our future. Humble ISD Police Department is proud to recognize the Patrol Division. The Humble ISD Patrol Division consistently and tirelessly works to ensure a safe learning environment for the students and staff of Humble ISD. The Patrol Division works evenings, nights, and weekends to ensure that everyone who may be watching or participating in an athletic event to attending elementary school festivals and graduations is safe. Thank you so much. The City of Humble, the Humble Police Department, wants to recognize Officers Damian Brown and Officer Cole Holden. Accompanying Officers Holden and Brown is Police Chief Delbert Dawes. Early last year, Officer Cole Holden and Officer Damian Brown were dispatched to a Shell station for a robbery. When officers arrived, they discovered the side of the building was destroyed. After interviewing the store employee and reviewing the store surveillance video, Officer Holden discovered the suspect drove a large truck through the side of the business and stole the ATM machine and the cash register. Brown, Holden, and Houston officers tracked down the vehicle after a tip from a record driver. The Houston officers obtained consent from the homeowner to search the backyard for the ATM machine. They discovered evidence that could lead to an arrest. Officer Brown secured the residence and notified his sergeant. Detectives responded and obtained a search warrant based on the officer's observation. Due to Officer Holden's diligence at the scene by quickly obtaining the suspect vehicle description and having the foresight to notify surrounding law enforcement agencies, and Officer Brown's determination to further investigate a tip from a witness, 5 suspects were taken into custody from the residence. Numerous items were recovered from the residence linking the suspects to the crime, including the stolen ATM, along with more than $40,000 in cash. All 5 suspects were charged with aggravated robbery. Lone Star College Police Department would like to recognize Sergeant Albert Lynch. Accompanying Sergeant Lynch is Captain Dan Hatfield. Sergeant Albert Lynch has been a member of the Lone Star College System Police Department since November 17th of 2011. He has served at the Kingwood campus, the Atascocita Center, and MCED Center. Sergeant Lynch has a Master Peace Officer license granted by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. He is a certified instructor and mental health officer. He has accrued over 5,300 hours of training in diverse topics ranging from crisis intervention training to response tactics for active shooter incidents. He was selected to attend New Mexico Tech's Incident Response to Terrorist Bombing Training and the trainer program for the Lone Star College Police Department. Sergeant Lynch has recently completed training in crime prevention and executive protection. Sergeant Lynch has an extensive background in Texas law enforcement, having served the state for over 27 years as an officer and a supervisor with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. Sergeant Lynch progressed through the ranks and retired as a captain before joining the Lone Star College Police Department. And while serving Lone Star College, Sergeant Lynch has responded to and resolved numerous incidents, including vehicle accidents, theft, criminal mischief, criminal trespass, disturbances, and medical assist, in addition to his supervisory duties. He consistently assumed duties outside of his job description and is the go-to investigator for background checks for prospective Lone Star College Police Department officers. Due to Sergeant Lynch's efforts, the college campus remains one of the safest and more crime-free areas in East Montgomery County. Sergeant Lynch's singularly distinctive accomplishments reflect great credit upon himself and Lone Star College System Police Department. Next, we have Montgomery County Precinct 4 Constable's Office, Sergeant Jim Slack. Accompanying Sergeant Slack is Lieutenant Buck Clendenin. It is the recommendation of the Civil Division that Sergeant Jim Slack be recognized as Officer of the Year for the Precinct 4 Constable's Office. Sergeant Slack is an admired leader with many years of experience as a Texas peace officer. He displays outstanding law enforcement skills in a positive and professional manner. He is nominated for this honor for his outstanding work put forth this past year in promoting this office via social media, creating several neighborhood crime watch groups, creating the Citizens Police Academy, and the development of the Constable's Office website. The website that Sergeant Slack developed features a tip page that allows the public to give the Constable's Office important information on all types of criminal operations within East Montgomery County. This tip page was responsible for shutting down several drug dealers in the area, as well as the recovery of several stolen vehicles. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Tyler Hall. Accompanying Deputy Hall is Lieutenant Joseph Sin. Deputy Tyler Hall is the Officer of the Year for the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office due to his dedication to go above and beyond the call of duty in DWI criminal enforcement. Deputy Hall works the B night shift in East Montgomery County. This is a very busy shift, and deputies are responsible for patrolling 290 square miles of Montgomery County. They respond to calls for service as the primary law enforcement agency in the area. Deputy Hall averages about 15 calls per service night, ranging from suspicious persons to major assault calls. Deputy Hall has chosen to take a more proactive approach to his work. As a result, he made 717 traffic stops in 2015, many of which resulted in narcotics and alcohol-related arrests. Deputy Hall also excelled in DWI enforcement, making 60 DWI arrests. Due to his dedication and desire to exceed above what is expected of him, Deputy Hall is deserving of this award, and we are proud to submit him as our nominee. Okay, what was just handed to me, there was a major fire on Isaacs Road in the city of Humble not too long ago, and the city of Humble wanted to publicly recognize the Houston Fire Department, the Atascocita Fire Department, and the East Tex Fire Department for their combined help in distinguishing that fire and taking care of that community, small community of the city of Humble. So thank you. Now I have the distinct privilege and pleasure to introduce a true friend of our community, and I count him as a personal friend of mine, known him for many, many years. He has been in law enforcement. You can kind of say he's doing that still today. Yeah, that wasn't on the script, Congressman. You know, he's policing Washington, D.C. for us all right now. Texas Congressman Ted Poe is a leading advocate in Washington for limited government. free markets, low taxes, individual liberty. Prior to serving in Congress, he served 22 years as a criminal court judge in Houston, where he garnered national media attention for his innovative sentences, dubbed poetic justice. Prior to that, he served for 8 years in the Harris County District Attorney's Office, where he became the chief felony prosecutor and never lost a jury trial. I didn't know that. Never lost a trial. Congressman Poe serves on the House Judiciary Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee as the chairman of the Subcommittee on Terrorism, Nonproliferation, and Trade. An outspoken advocate for border security, he travels regularly to the southern border to meet directly with local law enforcement and residents. He often visits our troops in Afghanistan and around the world. He also established the bipartisan Victims' Rights Caucus to advocate on behalf of victims in our nation's capital. Please help me welcome Congressman Ted Poe.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. Appreciate the chance to be here with you. It's always great to be back home in Texas and see normal folks like you. I try to make it a point to come back every weekend from Washington, D.C., and had the opportunity this week to be here this week. As Robert mentioned, I'm headed to the border, the Texas-Mexico border, not the Louisiana-Texas border, tomorrow with one of my staffers, Tim. And we're going to see the situation again down on the Texas border, and I'll be with other like-minded peace officers who protect the southern border of the state of Texas and the United States. When I was real little, I don't know how old I was, must have been 5 or 6 years old, I was going to a parade in Temple, Texas. My grandmother and grandfather lived there at the time, and it was a kind of an old-fashioned parade. High school band marched down the street after Old Glory and the Texas flag on horseback. But as I was watching the parade, I was with my dad, and he noticed that I was looking at an individual that was at the end of the block, standing on the corner, watching the parade, just observing, not being a participant in the parade. And it was a local Temple police officer. And he made a comment, my dad made a comment to me then that was true, and it's still true. He said, if you're ever in trouble, if you ever need help, go to the person who wears the badge, because they are a cut above the rest of us. Now, in those days, Temple police officers, they didn't wear uniforms. They wore a white shirt and Stetson jeans, but they wore the badge or the star or the shield, whichever you prefer. That has always been a true statement in our society. In Texas, it's been my experience that the people of the state hold in high regard those that wear the badge: peace officers, firefighters, emergency medical technicians. Probably like no other place. I have talked to other members of Congress about their states and their relationship with law enforcement, first responders, and the community. And it's not always that supportive. But here in the state of Texas, we love our police. We just do. And yes, I pronounce it police for a lot of reasons. And I think people are raised that way, but we believe that way. But the respect, most importantly, is deserved. It is deserved that the public respects what all y'all do every day. And we're grateful for that. This ceremony, this event where we try to show as a community our respect for what you do. And I congratulate the Chamber and the others who supported this endeavor, and the churches. We always need the churches involved in praying for our first responders. When I've always been in law enforcement, so to speak, as Robert mentioned. I was a prosecutor, then I was a judge, and now I'm in Congress. But I loved being a prosecutor. And it's true that I was fortunate enough that with the good Lord's help, all the people that I prosecuted, they were convicted. Of course, they were guilty of the crimes that they committed. But the real reason they were convicted was because somewhere in that case, there was a peace officer that did the work to make sure that the criminal was convicted. And all those cases really go to the conviction of the work that the peace officer did. One of those, some of you are old enough to remember, one of those cases occurred a long time ago when an individual killed off a whole family in the Wanstroff murder cases. And that case was solved by 3 Houston police detectives, Detective Uristi, Johnny Bonds, and Dan McAnulty. McAnulty still lives in the Kingwood area. And in that case, it was, some of you don't remember it, but it was a case where at the scene of the crime, there was 3 dead people. Diana Wanstroff, her husband John, and their baby, 14-month-old baby, Kevin Wanstroff. The medical examiner ruled that Diana killed her husband, killed her son, and then killed herself. That was the ruling. Case closed. Move on. But because those 3 Houston police detectives refused to believe that she would commit that suicide after killing her son and her husband, they worked tirelessly for over a year, every day, even on time off, to solve that case. And at the end of the solving of the case, 4 killers were brought to justice and found out that it was a hired killing so that some relative could collect a life insurance. They solved those 3 murders plus other murder cases, and the person who received the money and the person who did the killing received the death penalty and have been executed, and the other 2 went to prison. But the reason that case was solved when you had the medical examiner's office saying it was a double murder-suicide was because peace officers made the difference in resolving that case. So we appreciate how you work and the tirelessness that you do in protecting the rest of us. It's great that we have our new Chief Montalvo with us today from the Houston Police Department. I think that shows how much respect she has for her fellow officers who work every day in our community. After those days of prosecuting, and of course I went to the bench and saw more of you. A lot of you I've known for a long time. Chief Herman, I knew him when he was a teenager, and here he is, the chief of the constable's office. He used to patrol my neighborhood and sit in the cul-de-sac and just watch and observe what was taking place in the neighborhood. But the same is true when I was a judge. What I mean is when the cases were brought to court and they were tried and the person was convicted because some peace officer was involved in solving that case and making sure they never took no for an answer, to make sure that there was justice for the victim of the crime and justice for the people and justice for the defendant as well. And I spent a long time on the bench in Harris County, 22 years down there at the courthouse, or the Palace of Perjury, as I fondly refer to it as. And some of the ideas that I got for sentencing came from peace officers, some of those unique ideas. And I did some of those unusual types of sentencing in appropriate cases that I thought would bear fruit if it was someone was given some type of punishment other than just going to jail or prison or a probation. And so I implemented some of the ideas that law enforcement gave me on those. And just a couple of those. We had an individual who, back in the days when there was a Kmart, y'all remember the Kmarts? There's still one or two, you know, the little blue light special and all that stuff. Had gone into a local Kmart around here and stolen something from Kmart. And the person's caught, brought to court, charged with theft, and It was a felony case because he had 2 previous misdemeanors. That makes it a felony. As all of you know, when you go down to the DA's office at intake and you try to file those charges, you want to file that felony because of those prior misdemeanors. So I got the idea from the officer who made the arrest that maybe as a condition of probation, rather than just a probated case with a bunch of conditions, how about making the person make a public apology, so to speak, for their crime? And so the way that we did that, under the guise of community service, the judge orders community service, ordered that they go back out to this Kmart and carry a sign for 7 days. And the sign read, "I stole from this store. Don't be a thief or this will be you." And the individual didn't like doing that. And of course, what happened? What were the results? I didn't know what the results would be, but it turned out to be that, first of all, people would stop and talk to him about his conduct. One lady wanted to take him to church on Sunday and see Pastor Jerry. But also, it turned out that the store manager called me after this case, and after the week was over, and he said, "Judge Poe, the week that guy was out in front of my store carrying that sign, I didn't have any stealing going on in the store." Well, no kidding. Well, who got that message? Well, those other would-be thieves that are driving by, they see the guy with the sign in front of Kmart, and they say, "Oh, let's not stop here. Let's go down to Target and steal something, And then what about the offender? Well, we're always concerned about him. Well, he said it was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to him in his whole life. Got his attention. And he changed his conduct, changed his lifestyle, and he steals no more. In fact, after that case occurred, years later, he would come by the courthouse, we would visit, and he would give me ideas on how different types of sentencing for other people. So anyway, but some of those ideas came from law enforcement and your ideas on how we can better administer justice. Auto theft occurs occasionally around the Houston area. I don't know the exact number, but it's about 100 cars a day or more that were stolen. And then not too long ago, well, it's been a while. I used to drive a 1984 Jeep Renegade. I love that Jeep. It didn't have a hard top, it was a soft top, and I would drive it to the courthouse. And I had parked the car over in one of our nearby shopping malls, and I went out and that Jeep of mine was stolen. And so I called the Humble Police Department, and that was before 911. You just call the dispatcher. And I called the dispatcher at the Humble Police Department. Chief may remember that event occurring. And I said, my Jeep Renegade, it's an 84, it's red, it's kind of beat up, it's been stolen. Then there was a pause. The dispatcher took that information, there was a pause, and all of a sudden, sirens are going off all over Humble, Texas. Humble police trying to find out the culprit who stole that Jeep. And sure enough, it wasn't long. They found that individual and charged him with stealing my Jeep. I didn't hear the case. It was somebody else. But auto theft occurs. And we had this lady, this senior citizen, and she was a senior citizen. And she drove an old car. It was a Bonneville. Some of you may remember those. Look it up sometime on your iPad. It was a yacht. It's enormous. And this teenager stole her Bonneville and wrecked it. And he's caught by the police, charged with auto theft, stealing grandma's car. He comes to the courthouse, 17-year-old, charged with stealing her car. He pled guilty. I ordered that he be placed and do some little bit of jail time, placed on probation, and given some conditions of probation. But on the day of sentencing, Grandma shows up at the courthouse, and she sat on the front row. Now, she didn't sit on the second row where the witnesses sit. She sat on the front row where the lawyers sit. And she's looking at me, and she didn't like me one bit. I could tell she didn't like me at all. And still mad about her old Bonneville being stolen. And she was there because her car was still in the shop. So the defendant had pled guilty. This was the day of sentencing. So I ordered that until her car was repaired, which he was paying for, the defendant was paying for, that he let her drive his car and pay the insurance on it. And I thought that was a pretty good idea, especially when he turned to his lawyer He turned to his lawyer and said, "Can he do that?" Yes. In fact, we had a little ceremony. I brought Grandma up to the front of the bench, brought the offender over to her, made him apologize for stealing her car, made him give her the car keys right there in the courtroom, sent her on her way, told him to go see his probation officer, go and sin no more, and I didn't think anything about the case until the next day. Grandma calls. She's so excited I could barely calm her down. She said, "Judge Poe, I have never had so much fun in my life driving this Trans Am around Houston." So, you know, I appreciate those ideas, but a little bit of justice involved in that restitution. And there are many, many other cases. Just two more, if it's okay with Robert. Back in the days when we used to have the rodeo where it belongs at the Astrodome, you know, next to the Astrodome is always the carnival, or the whatever it's called. It's not the carnival, but it's Astro World. It wasn't there either, but they would have, you know, all the rides and that sort of thing going on there. Well, so the rodeo's going on inside. The people are outside. Some of them are over at the carnival, and there were three teenage boys, who had been smoking a little bit too much killer weed, and they started causing trouble. So a couple of Houston police officers go over, and they try to calm the guys down. And what happens was there's a fight that ensues between the three teenagers and these two Houston police officers. Now, the police officers won the fight. That's good. And they arrested the three individuals and charged them with assaulting a police officer, which is a crime. It is a crime. And they're charged with that crime. They come to court. I put them in boot camp for a period of time. I was a believer in boot camp. And then after they got out of boot camp, it was about a year. You know, that boot camp, when it used to be right over here where the sheriff's department is, about a year later, they come to court and get their other conditions of probation. Well, it was rodeo season again. So I ordered that the three of them make a sign, and that they would each carry for 5 days at the entrance of the rodeo there on Main and Kirby, where those 50,000 people a night went into the rodeo, and the sign read, "I fought the law, and the law won." So get their attention that they have to respect the police. I think the sign also said respect the police. So, you know, you have to do those things to help folks understand the consequences of their actions. One more, and if it's all right. Some of you know about this case, but it was one of my most pleasant experience as a judge. Who was Clayton Moore? The actor, Clayton Moore, portrayed what person on television back in the early 60s? The Lone Ranger. Some of you baby boomers know that. You youngsters, I'm going to give you a history lesson. Clayton Moore was the actor who portrayed the Lone Ranger on television in the late 50s, early 60s. And I loved the Lone Ranger as a kid. You know, he was my hero. I even had one of those little lunch boxes that the Lone Ranger. And after that series was over with, Clayton Moore would travel around the United States. He'd dress up like the Lone Ranger, and he'd do benefits for different charities. And he came to Houston, Texas on a Christmas Eve in the 80s and did a benefit for the crippled children of Houston on Christmas Eve. Raised a lot of money for those kids. He flies back to Hollywood, Los Angeles, the next day or so. But what happened was his luggage did not show up at LAX with him. What had happened, a baggage handler at the Houston airport had stolen Clayton Moore's luggage. In his luggage was not only his costume, but his 2 Colt .45 revolver pistols, the real guns that he used on the television series. I understand they were worth at that time about $100,000 a piece. So somebody stole the Lone Ranger's guns. I mean, really? Some things are just un-American, and that's one of them. Anyway, the culprit was caught when he tried to pawn the guns off. The pawn shop dealer calls the police. They show up, they arrest him, charged theft of the Lone Ranger's guns. It's a felony because of the value of the guns. And the case landed in my court, my childhood hero. Now, a couple of things happened at the trial. Now, the detective who investigated this case, I won't even mention his name, but he denies this was his idea, but a couple of things happened. When the Lone Ranger, Clayton Moore, showed up at the trial, he showed up in his Lone Ranger outfit. He had his costume on, his hat, mask, walked through that courtroom door, took the oath, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. And as soon as the defense lawyer saw Clayton Moore dressed up like the Lone Ranger, he jumps up. Judge Poe, I object to him wearing that outfit, make him change clothes, make him take off that mask. Well, I overruled that objection. You may wonder why. Outlaws have been trying to find out the identity of the Lone Ranger for years. And I wasn't about to be the person who went down in the history books who unmasked the Lone Ranger. So, anyway, jury convicts, the jury assesses punishment. As you know, in Texas, if there's a jury trial, the defendant chooses jury or judge to assess punishment. He picked the jury to assess punishment, and they gave him 10 years probation, but I determined the conditions of probation. And as I mentioned to you, I always require 20 hours a month community service. So what type of community service did you order for the person who stole the Lone Ranger's guns? The symbol of everything that's great about America. The only appropriate community service was 20 hours a month, every month, for the next 10 years, working at the Houston Police Department Mounted Patrol Division stables, cleaning up after horses like Silver and Trigger and Buttercup and some of those others. But we do appreciate what you do, and we thank you for what you do. And those of you that are firefighters and work emergency medical technicians, our first responders, always chasing the fires, going to help somebody that's hurt. I got a nephew that works in North Texas that's a EMT, and to hear about the hours he works and the bond that is made between firefighters because you're on duty 24 hours and you're at a station. It is vital that we always remember what you do. Kim's husband is a firefighter. He's a captain with the HPD. And we lose firefighters just like we lose peace officers every year. 100 firefighters last year were killed in the United States. Two of them were from Texas. And that's because it's a dangerous job. I understand that historically, that back in the days when those fire wagons were pulled by horses, that it took a certain type of horse to chase into the smoke and the fire. And it was true about horses, but it's also true about firefighters. And we're in a unique society, especially here in Texas, where nationwide, 31% of our firefighters are career firefighters, but the vast majority are volunteers, like the Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department, which is my neighborhood, are volunteers. It means what it says. They volunteer to protect the community that we live in. And I want you to know that we in this community and Texas, we really appreciate you. And we appreciate the families that every day when the spouse, husband, wife, son or daughter goes off to that emergency, we appreciate those families that sacrifice just like those that are actually the first responder. When 9/11 occurred, that's been 15 years ago. You realize that? 15 years ago. All of you know what you were doing that very moment when you were heard about 9/11. I'm driving my Jeep to the courthouse here on Highway 59, and I'm listening to KILT Country Western Radio, Hudson and Harrigan. And they break in with the news. Robert B. McIntyre breaks in with the news that a plane had crashed into one of the towers in New York City. And just a few minutes later, a second plane crashes into the other tower in New York City. And as all of us started listening to the news, we heard about a plane in Pennsylvania that crashed in Pennsylvania. And that was the reason, as we all now know, because those people on the plane took matters into their own hands to protect the rest of us. And then the fourth plane that took place, that flew over the United States Capitol, right next to Arlington Cemetery, and crashed right into the Pentagon, killing 300+ individuals. About 3,000 people were killed because of that. And when those events occurred, and later that evening, while those of us who are not first responders were watching TV, we see those planes crash in to the World Trade Center. I noticed, as everybody else noticed, how thousands of people, good folks, just from all walks of life, all races, and from every country, when those planes crashed into the World Trade Center, they're running as hard as they could to get away from what was taking place, that terror in the sky. But there was another group, not a whole lot, but another group, that when that first plane hit, they started charging to those areas where the World Trade Center was, disregarding their own safety, going as fast as they could to get to that terror in the sky. And of course, who was it? It was you folks. It's first responders. It was peace officers, Port Authority officers, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and a few volunteers. And as it's important always for us to remember those people who died on 9/11 because of the airplane crashes, it's also important for us to remember those who gave their lives so that others did not die on 9/11. And it was the first responders who were there first to save, protect, and defend. And so we appreciate all of you, or all y'all, like we say in Texas, because you do good work. You do the Lord's work, taking care of the rest of us. And so my dad was right. Those of you who wear the badge over your heart, whatever first responder you are a cut above the rest of us. You protect us from terror and lawlessness. And you're the last strand of wire in the fence between the fox and the chickens. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Before you leave, we've got a token of our appreciation for you being here. We thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert.
How about that, huh? A couple things. Reverend Martin, you'll be taking over as chairman of the board next year. When the congressman says, I've got a couple more stories, if that's okay, you just be quiet and let him roll, baby. Today's events are being videoed on YouTube. If you go in and Google YouTube My Chamber channel, and the first link there is LHA, Lake Houston Area Chamber. You can click on that and see everything that happened today. And I know that Congressman Poe's office was streaming live on Facebook today, too, as a matter of fact. So you'll be able to see all that on the internet. Also, at the conclusion of our event, if all the honorees could meet out by the fountains for a group picture, we would greatly appreciate that. Once again, I would like to thank our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Light of the World Christian Fellowship, our platinum sponsor, Health South Rehab Hospital of Humble, Our award sponsor, Walden on Lake Houston. Our gold sponsors, Commercial State Bank, HEB of Kingwood, Joyner Architects, Kingwood Medical Center, Shell Federal Credit Union, the Mint National Bank. Our silver sponsors, CenterPoint Energy, Community Resource Credit Union, the City of Humble, Deerbrook Mall, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, First Choice Emergency Room, Top Hat Catering. Our bronze sponsors, A Senior Moment Massage, Key Realtors, Memorial Herman Northeast, Rosewood Funeral Home and Cemetery, Spring Chicken Travel Lisa Nickham, and Washington National Insurance Company. Let's give all of our sponsors a round of applause. And before we break, I got one quick announcement. Tonight at Lone Star College Kingwood, they have a special event going on. It's called Meet Houston's Leading STEM Women, Science, Technology, Engineering. Hear their stories, find your path. All are invited. Moms, daughters, sons, it doesn't matter. So tonight, Jill Jarvis, electrical engineer, will be here. Colette Lewis, mechanical engineer, and Tammy Algren, president and CEO of Matco Company. It is from 6 to 8:30 p.m. in the Student Conference Center. Admission is free, so come out and really bring out the young females in our community to find out what careers are available for them going forward. Also on April 14th, Cheryl Ash Simpson, mechanical and industrial engineer, Megan Marietta, Chief Operating Officer from Kingwood Medical Center, and Dr. Gabriela Alves Manoli, Research Chemist from Chevron Phillips. They will all be speaking on April 14th. And then on May 4th, Dr. Priscilla Milam Smith, Global Lead for Technology from British Petroleum, Tracy Borgmeyer, Chemical Engineer, and Yemi, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Oyurendi, Research Chemist from Chevron Phillips. That is on May 4th. So three series, multiple speakers, very powerful, strong women talking about their careers, talking about how young women can be empowered in this line. So if you get an opportunity, I think there's some brochures in the back, but pick those up, and they'd love to see you out there. And again, admission is free. And with that said, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you do on a daily basis, and go forth and prosper. Thank you.